Thanks, Tolly. Welcome back to the PS4 Qualifiers here. Aggro joined by the ever wonderful Anatoly.
Hi.
Hi. We've got game 5 coming your way right now. It's a win and in between Speedy Slugs and Family Friendly, and these are the two teams that have the most Xbox competitors coming over. I mean, you got DeWorst, a.k.a. BestHades, relevant name for him, on the side of Speedy Slugs. Family Friendly, they've got Spartan and Forger Vulcan, so one of these two teams isn't going to be in the PS4 League.
Should be interesting with solo laner experience versus more dual lane side of things. We could see a lot of side lane action between these two teams, and funny enough to see that Hades name for DeWorst, considering that he's more known for other gods, particularly the Sun Wukong, the Xing Chen, even the Robin.
Even the Robin, but hey, look, he played a lot of Hades back in the day. Don't get it twisted. I believe he got it. If my memory serves, there was an insane land like quadra kill on Hades for DeWorst that really stepped him up into the limelight. But we're talking about the past. Let's talk about what's happening right now. That's Speedy Slugs trying to get in to the PS4 Pro League, and they're going to ban Chang'e right away. Chang'e has been basically dominant today.
Outside of Chang'e, there's also Zhang Kui you got to worry about. So if you're trying to get rid of some of those solo lane options, you're going to choose those two right off the bat. Leaves a lot of other things left open, specifically Chernobog, some Artemis, Janus action.
Yeah, not a lot of Artemis so far today, but we'll wait and see. Maybe we'll see it this time around. Kumbhakarna, the ban, alongside Odin. So Artemis is on the table here. Chernobog, as you mentioned. Janus, still plenty left open. None of those, though, is what they're going to go with. First pick Chulainn. Chulainn's good, but is he first pick?
I don't think he's first pick worthy, honestly. Yeah. But I don't mind necessarily not going for the Artemis, the Chernobog, or the Xbalanque because you have one of those three remaining, right?
Sure.
So you don't necessarily have to do those options. Janus would have been a little bit more inclined to be first pick.
Well, maybe they can still get it now because Family Friendly go with Chernobog and Athena, prioritizing that dual lane that, as I mentioned, has had the most competitive experience on Xbox. There is the Janus selection for the Slugs, but it'll be the Robin in the jungle most likely for them. Robin's starting to see a little bit more play, at least here during PS4.
Especially once some of those patch notes changes hits.
That's making Assassin Robin to you.
I mean, everyone builds him as an assassin anyway, let's be fair. But having a little bit more reduction in terms of damage reduction from the ultimate, the shield from his passive, he's able to dive that backline very effortlessly. Very
easily. And you mentioned some hunters that could be prioritized here by the Speedy Slugs, and they go a different way, so Family Friendly go straight to banning them. Xbalanque going to be their first ban. Nemesis banned on the other side. Nem has also been very, very popular here on PS4. Definitely a different meta developing here. A lot more of the Nemesis, Susano, and Hun Batz. Those have been the top 3 prioritized junglers, it felt like, as well as that Chang'e and Zhang Kui carrying over from the PC side.
If you're looking for a basic attacker, Nemesis is the way to go. Stripping away the power, gaining it for yourself. Looking for the late game in hands, you go for the Nemesis. Hachiman, pretty safe pick here.
Not bad, especially with Athena and Artio, 2 Guardians that can actually bring a bit of damage in their own right, so maybe you will be incentivized to build a little bit of magical protection on the side of the Slugs. Double Hunter working out so far, but Hu Yi the selection for the Slugs to contest with that duo lane. Cerberus and Hu Yi will be the 2.
And there still could be another Guardian, actually, if they really wanted to. They can run Athena into... Okay, it's going to be the Hun Batz, but I was going to say that it could be like Athena in the jungle, Artio solo, and then Fafnir would have been a great addition to be that triple Guardian double Hunter to get that coerce going online.
Yeah, but instead, the Family Friendly goes with that Hun Batz, as I mentioned. Seems to be very popular here on PS4, and has seen plenty of success so far this week as we get right into it here between the Speedy Slugs and Family Friendly. Win and you're in between these two sides. Gotta make a quick adjustment. I misspoke earlier on today. The only members from Family Friendly that have competitive experience are the duo lanes, Spartan and Forger Vulcan. I thought that Little Tony 313 might be a callback to one of many of the Xbox junglers, but indeed it is a PS4 native, so still plenty of experience in that duo.
But look at this, BestHades. Yeah, he said that was DeWorst.
It is. He's been playing support all day.
Ah, interesting to see that he's not into his more traditional solo lane.
JacobTask has also played solo his whole career on Xbox, but certainly has a less illustrious career.
Fair enough.
One of those situations where you imagine they both tried to, they put one support and the other solo, figured out that this was their best iteration of the team and gave them the highest chance of success. At least that's what I'd imagine.
Well, if you're not going to play Hades, you're going to play his servants, the Cerberus, in a line trying to get some lane dominance. That protection shred, so important when paired up with the Janus, autologically.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. The first game that Speedy Slugs played, Duers played Xing Chen support. Surprise, surprise. The last 2 games, it's been Cerberus support. Both of these gods can be played in solo or in support, so he's still sticking with the same type of god pool.
A pretty easy transition to go from the Guardian to the solo lane or vice versa, sharing a similar god pool and a similar aggressive style. Speaking of aggression, dual lane SCRtan forced to retreat.
Oh, but there's the difference. BestHades, Duers, picked up the shell instead of the sprint at level 1, so the chase wasn't really on. Purple buff actually goes down for family friendly. That means that SCRtan dings over to level 2, whereas the Cerberus is still sitting at level 1.
MLG Noob trying to make the ricochet bounce happen, but couldn't find it around the purple buff. But great dive bomb, jumping over the EI Jutsu. Kind of like honestly, a Jujutsu move.
Yeah, a little bit. But now
jumping over the leg sweep.
Cerberus in some trouble. No taunt for Forger Vulcan. Body blocks coming through from the Hu Yi as he's going to dash forward now, looking to save his support. SCRtan not going to have the damage, and here comes Logically as well. Unstable Vortex does some solid damage, but both mid laners.
Oh, the double stun though. Great play from Duers, showing off his mechanics there. A little bit of tunnel visioning from Family Friendly, really not respecting the counter rotation out of Logically. Only a level 3 Janus, so not going to do that much damage in the world, but great presence of mind.
Oh man, Adaption's in trouble here, but goes into darkness and into the pillar, and as such he will just walk right out of there. Portal from Logically gets MENJA back towards his own side of the map. How do you feel about Chernobog mid? Chernobog's good, but is he good enough to just put in the mid lane?
I think so, honestly, because you're able to stack whatever item you're going to go for. In this case, it's going to be the Transcendence, and with all that damage, if you're going to make the rotation happen into the solo lane where JacobTask is forced to build magical defense to deal with Dragon Knight's Artio, then that damage from Nano is just going to be amplified even further.
It is one of those situations, though, where I feel like in ADC you can get away with having a global ultimate that deals no damage whatsoever. In mid, don't you kind of lack that true big AoE damage ult?
Oh, I agree, absolutely. But in this case, it's not about the big burst AoE damage. It's more about getting to the late game. A mid, mage, or hunter is going to just out-level whoever you leave in the duo lane, with being able to get mid harpies off more cooldowns, back camps off of more camps, and as a result, the Chernobog should be about level 17 by the time SCRtan hits about 15 or so, and by that 2-level differential, that's still going to be enough to burn some of these objectives even faster.
Ooh, JacobTask just barely escapes Dragon Knight on this Artio, as MENJA still looking to drop blue, and finally does so. Looks like it was secured by the Speedy Slugs jungler, so JacobTask can pick up that buff should he get there in time. Not something that Chulainn really needs, though, considering he doesn't have any mana. Does get some HP 5.
That's true. Converting the MP5 into HP 5 allows him to be more of a bully inside the lane before Artio really gets some of that sustain off of her kit. Sitting only a level 4 is going to be Dragon Knight, as he's had to share some of that past minion wave. Little Tony hitting level 5, though.
Is there an HP 5 cap? Or can you just build
I'm sure there is. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Could you just build like a bunch of HP 5 items, and then when you get near that cap, switch to MP 5 on Chulainn and still surpass it? You just always have like you're healing for 200 a second.
I don't think there's enough HP 5 items in the game to hit the cap, though.
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, you build what? Like Stone of Gaia, you build Genji's Guard, because that's the highest MP 5.
Sure.
If my memory serves correctly.
It's like 40, yeah.
Shield of Regrowth. Or no, not Shield of Regrowth. Mail of Renewal has some serious HP 5, I think. You build Talaria for sure.
Sovereignty.
Sovereignty. Theory crafting is real. And I'm serious when I talk about my theory crafting. I brought you such builds as Hydra's Medusa, not Ron Jobbert. That was me. Make no mistake about it. Runeforge, or no, Shield of Regrowth Chiron. That was all me. Back when Shield of Regrowth was nuts, anytime you used an ability, you got movement speed. It was insane with Chiron.
Sure, but it's Shield of Regrowth on Chiron.
Yeah, but you never die. It's impossible.
You also deal no damage because you have Shield of Regrowth.
look, hunters with 5 damage items can get the job done, totally. Yeah, what about, you know, when ADCs in Europe were building the mantle of discord very early on?
They did no damage.
You're right, but they did enough.
That's because they were also getting dove like nonstop, and they're like, man, I'm tired of getting dove.
Then they adjusted and got used to playing ADC here in Season 5. That was a dark time when ADCs are building defense. That's never.
Yeah, we don't speak about those days.
That's the dark times for sure. No defense from either of these EDCs. A very traditional start, despite Spartans somehow just absolute disregard for everything holy and going for his blessing second in the item slots. That is not a good sign. If my teammates do that on my team, I'm instantly tilted.
Really?
Yeah, that drives me insane.
Well,
look at how bad it looks. Like, it looks so much better for MLG Noob Boner 69.
What if it makes it look a little bit more worse on the enemy side? What if they get triggered by more than your allies?
Oh, I do definitely focus on anyone who does that.
There you go. You're trying to really make the plays happen off of that one little thing. In the left lane, trying to invade the purple buff, stealing it away. Lil Tony getting the better end of this Hu-Yi Cerberus combination.
Lil Tony with actually a pretty decent lead right now over MENJA on the other side. Just has a slight XP lead so far, and a actually pretty substantial one if you take a look at the XP per minute. Getting 30 extra XP per minute isn't too bad. Dragon Knight isn't in a bad spot himself. He's getting a lot of help from Athena and from Chernobog. JacobTask definitely can take that 2-on-1, but not a 3v2. Because that way it went family friendly's way. First blood goes to Nano Adaption in the mid.
7.5 minutes in, finding the first blood. Going the way of Nano in the mid lane allows him to get that Transcendence completed a little faster, to get that bigger burst of physical power. And off of that one kill, just like this, it's really starting to go into family friendly's favor. Getting the backhand, stripping away the speed, no contest.
Oh, Lil Tony's got that and could be in some trouble. Spring used by Forger Vulcan just in case, and that'll save Lil Tony from having to use the more impactful Purification beads, so not a bad call there by Forger Vulcan. You mentioned the Transcendence here for Nano Adaption, and I gotta say, I don't think I like that at all, because you usually build Transcendence on hunters and just characters in general that do a lot of ability damage, because it adds a ton of physical power to affect your scaling. Nano Adaption, Chernobog is almost an entirely in-hand based character.
Well, the thing is, he has so much attack speed steroid off of his steroid that you don't need attack speed right off the bat. Going for Devil Gloves makes sense, but if you're relying on your front line to tank for you anyway, you don't necessarily need lifesteal, so it's just about a different play style. Sure, you don't get a lot of scaling off of like the big burst, like let's say Petrify, for example.
Right.
But it's more reportedly about being able to melt objectives. If left unchecked, he'll melt them himself.
Spartan here with his jungler, but MENJA not deterred. He's going to go in. Adaption comes around the backside, but logically slows him down with a cute little threshold. A couple ultimates from each side, but no kills quite yet. More ultimates expended by Family Friendly, and no one's here to save Spartan. MLG Noob Boner gets that kill. I am not going to say that every time. I just won't do it.
You forgot the very important XX.
I sure did. Adaption really wishes he wasn't here any longer. He can sit in this wall all he likes, but eventually he needs to come out. And eventually he will fall. Stygian Torment was there just in case, logically couldn't confirm it, but indeed he could with some good auto attacks. Good use of through space and time, just identifying that Adaption was out of position.
Well, had to use 2 ultimates instead of just the 1, but gonna get that 1 kill, allowing more breathing room for logically to get that lead that he so desperately needs. And this is where physical hunters are gonna start abusing some of these mages. Transcendence has now been complete, but as has Chronos Pendant, and Janus with Chronos Pendant is just a different god versus one Janus that doesn't have it.
Oh man, the utility just goes through the roof. His damage is still going to be there with this pick. It's definitely a core item to what Janus wants to do. I will say that taking a look at what Chernobog has at his scaling, he does, if you hit the 1 and detonate it, that is 160%.
That's right, 80% on both.
So that is pretty strong, but then he gets, what? No scaling on the 2. That's just an attack speed stim. The 3 is a dash, and it's like 45%.
and then the damage doesn't. There's no damage on the ultimate. So 160% feels really good on the one, but you still need to detonate it, and then still that's all you're really getting from the Transcendence power.
If you double dash through, that's also 90% scaling, so that's not a bad idea to be able to use that offensively. And there are more cases than not that you can use it offensively, especially when some of these team fights start transitioning around the objectives where there's a plethora of walls at your disposal.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. 90% certainly pretty good on the dash. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Not as bad as it initially seemed, but still feel like Devo gloves are so good on him that don't know I'd want that. Spartan wants this fight against MLG Noob Poner. Excuse me, XX MLG Noob Poner.
69.
Forced.
You forgot the last two letters. You forgot the first two. And now, oh my goodness.
I'm not doing that. I'm just not. Chernobog ultimate didn't really dissuade the Slugs. They still push forward with help from Logically's ultimate to get everyone there to help out his hunter. I guess I'll call him the noob. Like, he pwns noobs, but if you name yourself that, you're the noob as well.
Pretty much. But it's not the pwner, it's the owner. Have you ever watched the show?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Wow.
What are you talking
Canada would be very displeased with you right now.
What does Canada have to do with this?
That's where the show was made.
What show? Where you?
Hold that thought. In the mid lane, dash taunt, Forge of Vulcan forcing out the beats from Logically. Okay, hold that thought again, because there's more action, more disengage going on through it. Nano in a lot of trouble. He doesn't have the ultimate.
Oh, but great Fear No Evil coming out of Tony separates the team fight. Stygian and Torment brings Dragon Knight back, and he will fall with some damage from JacobTask and Squad, but Speedy Slugs only get one. That certainly could have been worse for Family Friendly. Again, Little Tony's ultimate was huge there.
Okay, probably going to be the Goal Fury. Have you ever heard of FPS Doug?
I've heard of FPS Russia.
Okay, well, FPS Doug, you need to Google him after this game and check out that show. It's remarkable.
Okay.
Speedy Slugs not going to be able to secure themselves the Goal Fury once they see Forge of Vulcan around the corner. And a level 8 Athena doesn't have much steal potential, but can still reset the Goal Fury if you can go around the bend and force the taunt to pull everyone outside the circle.
Also low mana on a couple characters, low health pools. That's why Speedy Slugs don't go for gold and just settle for those oracles instead. So it could have been worse again for Family Friendly.
Another taunt, trying to make it happen onto Huyi. Dive Bomb comes through. Cavalry Charge is available.
Damage is there from Nano, and he'll get the job done, but BestHades looking for that kill on to Spartan, and he'll find it despite the man advantage or multi-man advantage for Family Friendly.
There's just a lot of burst damage from a Cerberus. It doesn't matter if you build defensively. Just the protection shred from Ghastly Breath sets up your own paralyzing spit rather well. At max rank, you're looking at about a 42 protection shred, which sets up so much damage on that paralyzing spit.
I mean, just the base damage alone, if you hit all four, that's 170, that's times 4, that is 680.
Yeah, it's a lot. But it also, well, it's not exactly times 4 because it goes down 20%.
Oh, that's true.
So you got to do some real quick maths on that one.
I'm definitely not doing that. Forger Vulcan rooted, but still able to escape. Not enough damage quite yet from Logically. He was not building for the penetration, instead going for a Soul Gem in the mid lane. This is a build that does get Janus to max CDR very, very quickly. Can rely on the pen from the penetration boots through the early game, and it really works best when the enemy support tries to rush out Gauntlet of Thieves because they are fairly squishy with that item until it's stacked, and that's exactly what Forger Vulcan has done. So thinking logically with this build.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like what you did there.
I think it makes sense.
It's going to take a while, though, to get all those stacks. About 40 stacks. You're looking at about 6.5 waves. So another 3 minutes or so to really make the impact with that passive of the Gauntlet of Thieves.
On the other hand, BestHades, a.k.a. Mr. Derek Worst, has gone for the Sovereignty. He's going straight into some more physical protection, really not worried about the magical damage coming out of Family Friendly with double ADC and Hun Batz. Forger Vulcan and Dragon Knight, the only two magical damage dealers, and they're both Guardians. So instead, BestHades is going for a much more physical, heavy defense build, and I think that makes a lot of sense here. First of all, give your team some extra physical protection, and then start working towards a mid-Guardian mail or something for yourself.
You might as well do that, because once you get hit by those hunters, you're also limiting some of their attack speed if they decide to switch off of you at the end of the day. and being able to reduce some of their movement speed is key. Movement speed in Smite is the best stat of all time, and even reducing the movement speed is so good that you go for this item, which is surprised to see not getting a horrific emblem in certain games.
Spartan has to use the ultimate. Forger Vulcan was there with that Defender of Olympus as Mr. Noob uses his purification beats. Look like JacobTask made a good rotation in and forced Lil Tony out of this engagement very early on. Lil Tony's going to have to back, and that's enough for Speedy Slugs to pull this Gold Fury. Remember, no big mage ultimate to worry about on the side of Family Friendly.
Not that much steal, but going on in. Dwarfs pulling into the Suns. Forger Vulcan, the first victim.
Through space and time, doesn't hit on the Dragon Knight, but it does give logically a path towards the backside as he's providing the zone in a way now as his Hunter pulls that Gold Fury once again. Not a lot of DPS on this objective yet, though. Lil Tony is heading back towards back Harpies here. I mean, he's got Fear No Evil.
Surprised to not see him in the presence. Gonna peel off of it yet again. This time it's Dragon Knight making it happen alongside Lil Tony. Overhand smash, forcing out some retreats.
Oh, and he follows logically through the portal. Body blocks are pretty solid as well. Somersault puts Tony in position, and Dragon Knight claims the double kill. Nano Adaption finds another one right there as well. Dragon Knight looking to clean up his lane opponent in JacobTask, but the noob poner is poning some. I can't even do it. JacobTask gets that kill. Family Friendly get the Gold Fury, though.
A 3-for-1 after the zoning being done from Dragon Knight puts Family Friendly in a decent spot to get back into this game. They were trailing about 1,500 experience, but now they're the ones up 900, about a 2,400 experience swing, and now they're up 1,000 gold on top.
If that fight is 8 minutes from now, I think Speedy Slugs get an easy Gold Fury there. It's just that Hui is not going to be putting out that much damage on objectives at this point in the game, and Spartan's looking to put some damage onto the Hui himself. Indeed, he'll get that kill. Forger Vulcan and Spartan have been using those ultimates in tandem with one another all game long.
As you should. Athena and any horse, whether it's going to be the Hachiman or even a Guan Yu, is so scary. With all the movement speed you're getting behind cavalry charge or the mounted archery, you're looking to abuse that Defender of Olympus, which is very hard to confirm. But those two ultimates of Hachiman and Guan Yu just allow it to be in a thriving position, and this level 11 Athena that has no offensive items is doing the damage.
Very much so. Base damage is really, really high on Defender of Olympus. That's your quick math segment for today. It's a lot. That's all you really need to know. Not actually. This is interesting. He doesn't level his shield wall. Instead, leveling the dash, preemptive strike.
Huh.
Why do you think we see Forger Vulcan going for that?
I mean, it's more confirmed damage. And there's the slow duration, I guess, you can go for. Also, more importantly, like, reducing the cooldown is a good way to get off more taunts, because that taunt is about an 18-second cooldown. If you dash in once and you don't taunt, force like some sort of weird mind game situation, then you can have your second one up yet again and go for round 2.
Interesting. So a little bit different from Forger Vulcan, but I think the idea checks out in my mind. You're not really relying on shield wall for damage anymore. Hachiman's clear in lane is decent enough where you don't really need to help him out a whole lot. You can rely on his clear and then just be there as the queen of setup, which is exactly what Athena has been since her release. So it's certainly been pretty fruitful for them so far. Forger Vulcan at 0, 1, and 3 has been a part of quite a bit of action so far here for Family Friendly, who are up about 2,000 gold right now. And with the double hunter composition, you imagine that the late game will favor them as well.
It should, as long as Speedy Slugs can't really stop them in their tracks. There needs to be some more anti-attack speed items. And looking at BestHades, after the Mergani mail, is going for this Ancient Sword. Probably could be the Witchblade or the Winged.
Could see a Winged Blade. There are some slows on the side of Family Friendly, but I imagine that'll be a Witchblade and one that'll really help out. And the Thorns pickup for JacobTask certainly makes a lot of sense against double ADC, but having no horrific emblem against double ADC also feels a little bit odd to me.
Upgrading it to reduce the incoming damage by 20% is a good way to shut down some of that DPS, whether it's attack speed or just overall damage. It doesn't just work on physical hunters, it also works on magicals. So, which is always surprising to me for people and teams not to pick up this item. Even in a world where sprint will prevent the initial slow, it's not going to cleanse times the damage reduction of that upgraded relic.
Well, it's also that, I mean, upgraded Shell is so good against
Sure.
Hunters because of the block stack it provides. Thorns is so good in the solo lane for JacobTask. Where do you fit it here? Do you not go teleport?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to get at. You got to be able to play solo lane without a teleport. And if that inclines you to pick more of a global presence, such as an Athena even, then so be it. Go for a global presence solo laner. Don't go teleport. Be able to pick up a horrific emblem and upgrade it sooner rather than later. Once those level 12 team fights roll around, that 20% damage reduction is a world-changing event.
I mean, JacobTask, if he goes Horrific Emblem at level 1, has awesome kill potential against Dragon Knight with a gang from Ravana, right?
That's very true.
It's not even like you're giving up a whole lot by picking that item up at level 1. You don't want to go Thorns level 1 because no one does enough damage to you to return that damage back to them and have it be super relevant.
It's a conveniency sake, right? Like, no one wants to walk a mile, right? If it's going to take you 20 minutes versus just going in your car and being there in 2.
Yeah, I don't even want to drive to the other, like the dev building, and that's
literally, that's like a quarter mile away.
Yeah, it's a 5-minute walk, and I still get in my car. It's hot in Georgia, okay? No one should judge me.
Get your exercise, Aggro.
For that. I get my exercise going to and from the fridge every night. That's what I say.
No comment.
Forger Vulcan off the mark with that taunt. Looks like Family Friendly was actually trying to bait out a regular ward there. Pretty smart. Little Tony blinked upon by MENJA, but no real damage there. Family Friendly has this vision control around the Gold Fury. Oracles will prevent Speedy Slugs from being able to sneak this away.
Not going to look for it quite yet. It is a little bit of a bait, a ring around the rosy of this objective. First one did go the way of Family Friendly after a great play from Lil Tony. A taunt rather onto JacobTask. Great Fear No Evil, but all the damage!
Man, that through space and time was perfect from Logically. MENJA will get the first kill of the fight onto Lil Tony. That might be the only kill for the moment because Speedy Slugs are in a pretty safe position. JacobTask the only one low, but he's a pretty tanky Chulainn at this point. Aegis was solid from MLG Noob. Beads was pretty good as well. He gets back to safety, and now Dragon Knight stunned out. Prot's shredded. Still not enough to bring him down. As Family Friendly start to push forward once again, but with JacobTask teleporting in, this is going to be a tough fight for them to take down a member.
Logically, didn't really have much mana to continue the action. Really abusing Dragon Knight after he dashed on in with all that poke damage. He's forced to retreat, teleports himself back into the fray, and with a 5-on-4 advantage, Speedy Slugs, 10 seconds could do something with it, but instead, Family Friendly, they're the one-man deficit, and they go for the objective instead.
Yeah, Portal Demon, or excuse me, wow, what year is it? Pyromancer taken down solo by Spartan, and Speedy Slugs don't really do a whole lot about it. They do not allow Family Friendly to get a free Gold Fury, smart by them, but it looks like they're starting to spread out once again. Gotta say, I love, we see 2 Void Shields here, one for each jungler, and I think they're both really smart pickups for 2 totally different reasons. For MENJA, it's great because there's so many physicals on the other side, it gives them damage and some protection against those people. But Little Tony's Void Shield pickup is so smart because of the other part of it, the passive, which reduces physical protections in an area around you. With 3 people on Speedy Slugs already having Midgardian Mails, this is boosting not only his damage, but the damage of Nano Adaptation and Spartan.
It's another way to also counter set sovereignties. Surprised to see this item not be picked up more often than not, especially after some of the recent buffs we did to change that aura to go from 15 to 20. It's become a little more popular now. But this game progressing even forward after 24 minutes. Family Friendly still with a slight lead. But Speedy Slugs could have turned that back in their favor if they just went for the Gold Fury in a 5-on-4.
Decided to chase some kills and didn't end up working out for them. Logically, doesn't have any penetration yet. He went for a Soul Reaver right after his Soul Gem. So this is a sort of risky build. He will do negligible damage to Dragon Knight and Forger Vulcan, but if he hits the squishies, it can be really good.
Or even objectives such as Gold Fury and Fire Giants to make it happen. Bounces, connect, but it's on the Gold Fury for the last one. Not going to teleport to that one anytime soon. A little posturing, repositioning, as most teams do around this 25-minute mark. But normally at this point in the game, it's on the right side of the map, not the left. But this has been a very slow and steady building kind of style of the game where neither team wanting to overstep, because this game determines who will advance to the PlayStation 4 console league.
That's right. Win and you're in. Lose and you snooze, because you can sleep because you don't have to wake up to play your games.
Or you can just wake up and not hit the snooze button like most people do.
You would think. I have some bad memories there, okay?
You should get one of those alarms that make you solve a puzzle.
Yeah, right. I can't even solve that puzzle when I'm awake. Are you kidding me? JacobTask uses the Thorns, goes straight in onto Spartan. Spartan dashes away, but a 3-man knockup from Task gets him close to that transformation. Through space and time, gave good portals, but not good damage. It's MLG Noob Poner 69XX, forgot that in the first part, drops the ultimate and is doing really good damage.
He's
here.
kiting around the Suns, ring around the Rosie goes Dark Knight. Taunt is good enough to confirm the Hui JacobTask next to follow. 5-on-3, family friendly on the top with those 3 picks.
Where is the damage from Speedy Slugs? I mean, this was been a long team fight, and Nano Adaptation is the only one who's even semi-low at this point. Now it's only logically here, and he has a chance, but doesn't get it. He'll get spotted out by Dragon Knight, but still escapes through the portal. Logically will be allowed to back on that left-hand side, but a 4 for 0 for family friendly. That's a easy Gold Fury. It should be an easy fire as well.
And honestly, Speedy Slugs have the correct build to deal with all these hunters. Look at this, 3 Murguardian males, a Witchblade to be able to handle it. But there's still a lot of magical defense you gotta respect on the flip side. Dragon Knight really making his presence felt that time around, sitting about 11,000 damage, almost matching logically. And you mentioned it before, Aggro, no penetration for this Janus. Hurt him in the last team fight, and the positioning of his ultimate is left to be a little more desired.
Where is it just that logically wasn't doing enough damage? I mean, this Hui felt like he did very little damage at all in that team fight. Even the Suns that were coming down wasn't really hurting Dragon Knight or Forger Vulcan that much. It allowed him to stay alive a little bit longer, but it didn't really give him much else besides that.
Without the DPS of the Hui, the rest of the team fight was just destined to fail. When you're spending more time running away than holding down, trigger, left click, whatever you want to say, depending what platform you're playing on, that makes a hunter just next to nothing. You're not doing your role correctly, so there needs to be more protections. The positioning of Lil Tony from the flank side really disrupted that team fight. MLG Noob just couldn't really find his footing. He had to spend like about 10 seconds of running versus 2 seconds of fighting.
Tony has been really, really impactful in this game. Despite the scoreline, 1-1-5 isn't going to be something you want to write home about, but his impact has certainly been felt in this game, not only from his Fear No Evils, but as I mentioned, that Void Shield pickup. So good to make sure that Nano Adaptation and Spartan are still dealing relevant damage.
And as a jungler, you can go in for that utility style build. You can become that support style that your team depends on. That's a perfect slash line for a support, which is also the same exact slash line of Forger Vulcan. And that allows the rest of his hyper carries to really succeed. Nano with a 3-1-4 slash line. Not the biggest player damage charts, but it's mostly Spartan that's been making aggressive plays happen in the dual lane with all that mobility.
Spartan has certainly been aggressive. There's no doubt about that. He's been aggressive all day long in the dual lane for family friendly as they look to punch their ticket into the PS4 Pro League. They'll group up on the far side, looking for the Phoenix furthest away from the Fire Giant. Spartan can be the first one in. Noob drops the ultimate to try and create a zone. Lil Tony gonna blink forward and think, nah, I'm good. Through space and time, doesn't do a whole lot yet again, as now JacobTask gets CC'd beautifully by that through space and time. Nano Adaptation goes in underneath the Phoenix, realizes his mistakes, and backs up right away.
It's a 5-on-4. Great Stygian Torment pulls into Lil Tony, trying to find the right target, but logically backpedaling that very well. Left side Phoenix finally going down. Eagle Eye doing a decent amount of damage, forcing the dive bomb out of MLG Noob. Going through with the cavalry charge, but not going to commit.
Not yet. Mid Phoenix instead, the commit from family friendly. They've got a 5v4 here. JacobTask still down for 25 seconds. MENJA in that front line alongside BestHades, and best respawn timer right now for Speedy Slugs. He's down for 45 plus as the mid Phoenix now under siege from both of these double hunters. for Family Friendly. Nano Adaptation gets portaled. Good damage coming from Logically off of that. Unstable Vortex not there. Mid Phoenix not there either. That fell as Spartan knocks down one, but Logically finds the Hunbat.
Through space and time, just narrowly clipping Lil Tony for the kill. Going to be more difficult to siege this without the Fear No Evil that just came off cooldown. And even with double Hunters, with some of the respawn specifically from JacobTask and cleaning up the middle Phoenix, allows Family Friendly a clean escape.
Family Friendly looking good so far. 13-8, they're in the lead. They're up by an exorbitant amount of gold. There's only 2 structures left standing before the Titan is all that's up for Speedy Slugs. A tier 2 and a Phoenix in the right lane.
Playing very safe and calculated. I like this out of Family Friendly. They know what's at stake, and they're willing to just slow it down a little bit. Not going to overstep their boundaries, despite having that crazy, great gold and experience lead. They know what it takes with all the experience they had in previous leagues.
Nano Adaptation going to use the ultimate. And where are you going, homie?
I don't think he's going to land on anyone.
Nowhere.
He was just kind of... You could use it as a satellite ultimate as well. You have vision of every single god. Similar way that you use a Nua ultimate, not always for the damage, just to see where they at, though.
They were in the duo lane. I think he thought that Logically was by himself or MENJA was by himself and was trying to punish him, and then realized they were together in that duo lane, so decided to come back down. Magi's Cloak, the pickup here for Nano. I mean, there's not that much CC to worry about on Speedy Slugs. I kind of understand if Logically went for a Magi's Cloak instead because of how much CC the other side has, but it does give him safety. It is a Hunter with 5 DPS items and 1 utility item, though this utility item not nearly as good as Shield of Regrowth was on Chiron.
The only real CC that I'm worried about would be BestHades. That Stygian Torment would be a little annoying and obnoxious to deal with. So maybe that's the case, but he doesn't have Blink. BestHades elected to go for the Sprint instead. So as long as your positioning is A-OK, you don't necessarily have to worry about it. Maybe he's more concerned about the Blink aggression from MENJA with the Root.
Man, those were the glory days of Chiron and Shield of Regrowth. Definitely not Season 2 or Among Release where he was like absolutely insane.
How did we get from talking about Magi's Cloak from Nano to Shield of Regrowth Chiron again?
Because he has 5 DPS items and 1 utility item.
Oh, okay. There you go.
And he's still doing damage, just like Chiron did with Shield of Regrowth.
Don't, please. I don't want to see any Shield of Regrowth Chirons in my game.
You wanna cast another game with me after this?
Yeah, why not?
Cool. We can talk about it then too.
I no longer want to cast the next game with you.
Too bad. Left side Phoenix gonna respawn first. Here is Family Friendly look to punch their ticket into the PS4 Pro League. Speedy Slugs definitely looking back at that loss to Conquest Esports to start off the day. One where they were in control for the entirety of the game in 2 team fights. Won it for Conquest Esports. Something that was certainly weighing on the minds of these players right now. Forger Vulcan looking to be the first one in on the right side. Phoenix, and in he goes. Logically charging up that ultimate, gonna dissect this team fight, but just barely misses a couple members, and he gets punished for it summarily. MENJA gonna take a portal out that Logically could not, and Family Friendly right back to the drawing board, this time at a 5v4.
Dash taunt off the mark. Dragon Knight looking for the root, but BestHades has the Mad Guy's Cloak. A lot of damage coming through. Look at JacobTask leading the charge. Takes out one Hunter, but there's still another one, and his name is Nano.
And Nano gets a kill. Could get another one here as Mr. XXMLG Noob Poner 69 gets crit for 281 and put down Lil Tony with that one. Family Friendly, congratulations. We'll see you in the fall.
Great job out of Family Friendly, closing the game out rather quickly, unless these last 2 remaining members can say something about it. But no, too many Fire Archers to deal with.
Family Friendly will be in the PS4 Pro League coming this fall. Unfortunately, if you're a fan of that old Eager squad and the worst, he will not be, as Speedy Slugs fall ultimately to their opponents. These 2 teams definitely very talented and very close. But unfortunately, in these sorts of situations, it's a best of 1, and you got to make it count.
you got to also be able to adapt to certain situations. Lil Tony made a lot of great plays on that Hun Batz, catching several members slipping, and I think that's where it came to be problematic for the Speedy Slugs. They couldn't deal with the Hun Batz, and logically couldn't connect with some of his ultimates where it really mattered. The 5-on-4, not going for the Gold Fury. If you're Speedy Slugs, you got to be reflecting on that moment and being like, okay, maybe we could have dragged this game on a little longer.
Well, Conquest Esports looking good alongside Family Friendly. We'll get a chance to check out the other representative from North America, Group B, Conquest Esports, as they take on their opponents as we close the books on the PS4 qualifiers right after this break.